You know, when it comes to our health, knowledge isn't just power, it really is control. And look, to win any kind of battle, you have to understand the enemy's playbook. So today, we're going to dive deep into the science of how cancer cells actually get their fuel, and more importantly, how we can reclaim control just by understanding what's on the end of our fork.
So let's start with a really basic but super important question. How does a cancer cell even eat? It sounds simple, right? But the answer is the key to understanding how we can start to fight back. Because a cancer cell's diet, well, it's completely different from a normal, healthy cell's.
Okay, think about it like this. Your healthy cells are like these amazing hybrid cars. They're incredibly efficient, using oxygen to create a ton of energy with almost no waste. But cancer cells? Oh, they are the complete opposite. They're total gas guzzlers. They're wildly inefficient. Even with plenty of oxygen around, they would much rather just ferment sugar. It's a process called the Warburg effect, and it means they need a constant, massive supply of cheap, easy fuel to keep going.
So, if the cancer cell is a gas guzzler, we've got to figure out exactly what kind of fuel it loves to burn. And this isn't about just one single food, but really a combination of things. We're going to break down the 5 biggest threats, starting with that main fuel source itself. That primary fuel is, you guessed it, glucose, which makes refined sugar and simple carbs our first major threat. So when you eat things like soda, pastries, or even white bread, you're basically creating this tidal wave of glucose in your bloodstream. Now, for a cancer cell, this isn't all-you-can-eat buffet. And get this, they have way more insulin receptors, which means they are literally built to snatch up that sugar faster than any healthy cell in your body.
But the sugar is really only half the story. The real danger is the messenger your body sends out to deal with it all, insulin. See, insulin isn't just about storage. It's a powerful growth signal. It basically screams at your cells, grow, divide, store energy. And when your body is constantly flooded with sugar, that signal gets jammed in the on position. So now you've got high sugar providing the fuel and high insulin giving the command to grow. You've basically given the enemy both the gas pedal and the green light.
Okay, so we've established sugar and insulin as our first big threat. Now let's get tactical and identify the 4 other key supply lines that are helping this dysfunctional growth.
Second on our list, processed meats. Now we're talking about things like bacon, sausages, hot dogs, and deli ham. And the issue here isn't just about the fat or the salt content. The real problem, it turns out, is in how they're preserved. So manufacturers use chemicals called nitrates and nitrites to preserve these meats, but here's what happens. In your gut, these compounds can convert into something else called nitrosamines. And you can think of them like a Trojan horse. They get into your system looking harmless, like food, but once they reach your gut lining, they become these potent mutagens that directly damage the DNA of your colon cells.
And this isn't just some theory. A huge landmark report that analyzed over 800 studies found that eating just 50 grams of processed meat a day, that's less than 2 slices of bacon, increases the risk of colorectal cancer by a staggering 18%.
All right, moving on to threat number 3, inflammatory oils. Now, every single cell in your body is wrapped in a membrane, and that membrane is built from the fats you eat. So if you're eating unstable, highly processed vegetable oils like soybean, corn, and sunflower oil, that membrane becomes weak and flimsy, and the cell's integrity just fails.
And just look at this chart. The shift is dramatic. Our ancestors consumed a ratio of about 1-to-1 inflammatory omega-6s to anti-inflammatory omega-3s. But in the modern diet, that ratio has exploded to nearly 20-to-1. We are literally drowning our bodies in inflammatory signals, which creates the absolute perfect soil for cancer to take root and grow.
Okay, threat number 4 is a tricky one because it's invisible. It's called aflatoxins. These are toxic compounds made by certain molds that just love to grow on crops like peanuts, corn, and tree nuts, especially when they're stored in warm, humid conditions. And this isn't just some harmless fuzz, it's a classified Group 1 carcinogen. That means it's definitively known to cause cancer in humans.
So how do you avoid them? Well, you don't have to give up nuts entirely, but you do need to be a bit of a gatekeeper. First, try to avoid bulk bins, where humidity is all over the place. If a nut looks or tastes off, like at all, don't eat it. And maybe consider rotating your nut butters, choosing high-quality almond or cashew butters from brands that actually test for these compounds.
And a 5th major threat is alcohol. Now, when your liver metabolizes alcohol, the whole process creates this really toxic byproduct called acetaldehyde. And that's where the real danger is.
You see, acetaldehyde launches a 2-pronged attack. First, It directly damages your DNA. But then, it also messes with your body's ability to repair that same damage. Think about it. Our bodies have these amazing little repair crews that fix broken DNA all day long. Acetaldehyde basically sends those repair crews home right after it's caused all the damage.
Okay, so we've identified the supply lines. We know the enemy's strategy. Now let's shift gears and talk about the counteroffensive. Because this isn't about fear, it's about strategy. We can use this exact same science to proactively starve the enemy.
So let's talk about this beautiful process called autophagy. It's a concept that actually won a Nobel Prize. It literally means self-eating, and it is your body's essential internal recycling program. It's the cleanup crew that goes around, finds old, damaged, mutated, and precancerous cells, and just melts them down for energy. It's amazing.
So how do you turn this amazing system on? It is so simple. You just stop eating for a little while, what we call intermittent fasting. When no new energy is coming in, your insulin levels plummet, which turns off that constant growth signal. Your body then flips a switch and basically says, okay, time to clean house. Autophagy kicks in and the recycling begins.
And another direct countermeasure, especially for that sugar threat we talked about, is fiber. Fiber acts like a physical barrier in your gut, slowing down how fast sugar gets absorbed and preventing those massive glucose spikes. It also binds to toxins and literally escorts them out of your body, acting like a bodyguard for your gut lining.
And this brings us to the final, and I think the most empowering concept of this whole explainer. It's really about shifting your mindset from feeling helpless to feeling like a gardener.
Look, we can't always control our genetics or every single toxin we're exposed to. Those are the seeds that just happen to land in our soil. But what we do have immense power over is the soil itself, our body's internal environment.
And this is where all those tactical choices really matter. We can choose not to water the weeds with constant sugar and insulin spikes. We can choose not to poison the ground with processed nitrates and inflammatory oils. And we can give the soil a rest through fasting, letting it recover and clean itself out.
So let's just end on this one thought. Every single meal you eat is a signal. You are either signaling for chaos, for growth, for inflammation, or you are signaling for health, repair, and stability. That choice happens 3 times a day. So, what will your next signal be?